Well, Italy has cemented its position as the global epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic, and its death toll from the coronavirus officially overtaking that of China.
Now, the grim milestone comes as the government prepares to prolong a lockdown and the country's healthcare system becomes overwhelmed by the sheer number of infections.
Well, Italy recorded 427 new fatalities on Thursday, bringing the toll to 3,405. That's some 150 more deaths than China. However, Italy has far fewer confirmed cases, slightly more than 41,000 infections compared to China's 80,000 cases.
Our correspondent Seema Gupta is in Rome with the very latest. So, Seema, we're seeing worrying numbers coming out from Italy. Also reports that Italy's healthcare system is close to breaking point. But with resources also stretched in most European countries, how is Italy managing the situation?
Well, you're absolutely right about the numbers. They're really shocking and definitely heartbreaking here in Italy. And specifically, most of the numbers of infections and deaths in that northern region of Lombardy, the northern region where it does have actually one of the best public health systems in the world. So it's now really being pushed to breaking point, to the limit, essentially. They had a certain number of intensive care unit beds. They topped it up, but even that is basically running out. And they're calling for more beds. They're calling for more equipment. And the impact is also being felt in terms of the number of doctors and nurses that they need. At least 14 doctors have succumbed to the COVID-19 virus. And on top of that, we know that more than 2,600 doctors and nurses have been infected. And if they're infected, they cannot continue the very important work they're doing. Now, Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has announced that 300 doctors will now be sent from the rest of Italy to those hardest hit regions up north. We do know that there's help coming from outside of Italy. We had 300 intensive care unit doctors coming in from China. There's supposed to be a group arriving as well from Cuba. They're calling in on the military doctors, retired doctors to come back into service, and they're fast tracking the graduation of medical students so that they can get in there to help. Everything's being done in order to boost up the numbers of the healthcare professionals that are in the front line dealing with this infectious disease. And they're also, of course, calling for donations to help the hospitals get the equipment that they need.
Gosh, Seema, these do sound like dire times for Italy as the epicenter for the outbreak or the pandemic in the European continent. Dire times to dire measures. I just wonder, is there a possibility that the lockdown could be extended? And what about the people that are sort of flouting the rules?
Yes, what the Interior Ministry has released is that some 53,000 people, there were 53,000 violations of those lockdown measures over the past 8 days. And the Prime Minister has made it very clear, look, too many people are out and about without a good enough reason. These lockdown measures may need to be extended beyond this April 3rd line and school closures as well. They are talking about banning all outdoor activities. And the president of the region of Lombardy has said that he wants the military to be called in to enforce the lockdown, calling on people to stay at home. This is really the mantra that they're leading out to the public at large, not just up north, but the rest of the country as well, to limit the spread of COVID-19. The president of Lombardy region has also said that he wants public offices as well as building sites to be closed entirely. And it's interesting to note that the Chinese experts that have come to Italy are saying that these measures that are currently in place are not enough. They need to be more stringent and more things need to be closed. People need to simply stay at home.
Yeah, and Seema, factories and shops closed. We're even hearing Italy's electricity consumption dropping in the past week. Can Italy cope economically?
Well, Italy, to begin with, already had a stagnant economy, and we do know that it's most probably going to go back into a deep recession. But Prime Minister Conte has already said thank you to the European Central Bank for intervening by buying those bonds, which definitely in some way has helped in terms of the markets. But what he'd like to see is the EU to dip into that economic rescue fund that they have to help deal with this, the impact of the outbreak of the coronavirus. And he's calling for more solidarity within the European Union as various countries in the region have to deal with this outbreak, and saying, learn from the Italian example. The Italians are willing to share the information. They are on the phone right now, the different leaders, to try and work together to get through this situation. Of course, the concern of what happens eventually in terms of the economy also very high up there, together with, of course, the immediate health situation.